Hello everyone, welcome back to Lucky Loads 15, and in this video I'll be giving you my day one preview of the Dante Festival at York, one of my favourite festivals every year. It's normally a really good 3 days of competitive horse racing action, with the feature race being the Dante, which is a Derby trial, which is on day 2 of the festival. But for the next 3 days, like we did at Chester and always at the big race meetings, we always do in-depth previews, and I'll be giving you a selection for each one of the races at York tomorrow, and also as well over the next 2 days. So we'll get straight into the business end of things, and it all kicks off at 1:50 tomorrow. And in the first race, I'm going with a horse called Proschema, currently 16-1 with bookmakers at the moment, trained by Tom Dascombe, and Richard Kingscote has been booked for the ride. Now this horse actually ran very well here in some pretty decent handicaps at York last summer. Once finished second, and the other one was finishing third. So this horse has made the frame on both starts that he's been here, and he was running in some decent races last year, running in Group 3s and listed races. He made a seasonal reappearance last time out in quite a warm race at Newbury. This is a lot more easier, but you could still be up against it, you could argue, running off a mark of 105. But if he runs anywhere near that ability tomorrow, he should be there or thereabouts. So I think he's a good each way bet to kick things off tomorrow. He's got not a bad stall as well to get involved, and a lot of these horses that are more favourable in the betting, they haven't really got any course form, or they didn't really handle the course well, and that's something that definitely bodes well at York. It can sometimes be a strange track, and horses that have got good proven course records often tend to go on and do quite well there. So Proschema tomorrow at 16-1 with some decent starts making the frame at York, I think definitely he's got a good each way chance tomorrow. So that's going to be the opening selection there. We then go to the 225, where there's quite a lot of runners in this race tomorrow. There'll be multiple places out there, 5 and 6 places, and the one that's caught my eye here is Great Prospector. Now this horse is 10-1 with bookmakers at the moment, trained by Richard Fahey, and Paul Hannigan's booked for the ride. Now I actually put this horse up to win the Lincoln, but I think he was running a little bit too far that day. He then went on to run at Haydock last time out, and I put him up there for the other YouTube channel I do a bit of work for, called the Punters Page, when he finished in 3rd place that day. He ran really well that day and got us the each way money. I think he was 10-1 on the day, but the way he travelled into the race, he just cruised into it, and I just think again 7 furlongs could be just stretching him here. But the race has worked out well at Haydock, because the winner, Safe Voyager, went on to win a listed race at Haydock again last weekend, so the form was a good level, and just off a mark of 94 he could still be well treated. Now dropping back to 6 furlongs tomorrow I think will definitely suit. I read a stable tour of Richard Fahey about a week ago, and he said Great Prospector. I think he's been running over the wrong trips, and I think 6 furlongs could definitely see him to good effect. He's definitely got a good cruising speed, but he might not always find too much off the bridle. But I think tomorrow, going over 6 furlongs, he could definitely be seen to good effect. Richard Fahey does well in these kind of races at the meetings at York, and I just think this horse tomorrow, he's got a fair draw in the middle of the track. He could definitely go quite close tomorrow, and he's going to be our selection in the second race. We then go to the 3 o'clock for the Group 2. I'm going to go for the favourite here, Invincible Army, currently 11-4 with bookmakers at the moment, trained by James Tate and PJ McDonald, but for the ride. Won very impressively on his return at Doncaster last time out, and I just think he'll come on for that run as well. Invincible Army last year ran some decent races. He's actually got not a bad record here at York. He did finish second here a couple of years ago at the Ebor meeting, and I just think this isn't the strongest Group 2 you're ever going to see, and I think he is the most likely candidate. And at 11-4 I think he's a solid price there. Even if you wanted to back him each way, you would lose a bit of money if he did make the frame, but nonetheless I still think he's not a bad value bet there, and I think he's probably the most likely contender to win the race. I don't really see anything coming out of the woodwork to beat him, to be honest. There could be maybe 1 or 2 horses may bring up a surprise, but I think there's a lot going for him. He's the classiest horse in the race, and I think as a 4-year-old he might have a better season, considering he did have a interrupted campaign last year. So for me, Invincible Army is going to be my selection in 3 o'clock. We then go to the Missadora, which actually won last year with a William Haggis horse, which the name escapes me now, but I backed the winner of this one last year, and I'm hoping for the winner again obviously this year. And the one I've calm down on is a horse called Entitle. Now this horse is 15-2 but makes at the moment, trained by John Gosden and Frankie Dettori's but for the ride. Now I think this is a really interesting contender here. This horse is a half sister to Enable, who actually won the Oaks, you might remember, back in 2017. Now that seems a long time ago, but it's interesting that they've targeted this particular race with this horse, considering they could have maybe entered it at Chester and also as well Lingfield. And you could argue that the Missadura is one of the more well-known Oaks trials compared to some of those other trials. So it's interesting that they're going to be racing here. Also as well, Entitle had some good form as a juvenile, won a fair race at Lingfield, which is actually not a bad level of form. Obviously she's going to have to step up on what she's done so far to be involved here, because there are one or two other types, but I'm not really convinced with a lot of them. I just think it's really interesting that John Gosden has had a few nice fillies running in the last week or so, and he's really starting to go through the gears now and having the winners. And at 15-2, this is a good each way bet, I think. Obviously, you're going on reputation quite a bit here, but I think that's the way to play in this kind of race, because I think the horses at the top of the market are well too short, and I just think Entitled tomorrow. Obviously, you don't know what you're going to get, but with her useful connections and possibly her coming on as a 3-year-old, there's a lot to like about her chances tomorrow. I think she'll go close. So that's going to be my tip there. We then go to the 405 for a very tricky handicap, but Reeves was the one I came up with here. 16-1 but makes at the moment, trained by Robert Cow, and Rowder Silva is but for the ride. Now this horse finished 5th at Sandown last time out, which actually wasn't a bad race. The third horse actually went on to run a decent race at Haydock at the weekend, Loch Ness Monster. I'll be following him this season. Also as well, this horse ran in a decent handicap to finish 2nd at Newbury on his first start back. And I just think Reeves tomorrow, even though it is a very competitive race, he's been very consistent. His form works out. I think he's a good each way play tomorrow, with quite a few good firms offering quite a few places, which is good. So that's going to be the tip there. We then go to the 435. This could be anything that wins this, but the horse I've come down on here is Monoski, 9-2 but makes at the moment, trained by Mark Johnston. James Dawes but for the ride, always does well with his 2-year-olds. His 2-year-olds have already started to win this season as well, and he'll always target runners at York. I just think tomorrow he's probably one of the more interesting contenders. 9-2, who knows what to make of him, but he's got a nice pedigree, especially on the dam side, related to quite a few American horses did very good. So I think Monoski tomorrow could definitely know her job first time out, and is going to be the selection there in the 435. We then go to the 505, and the horse that I've come on here is the favourite at the moment, Starcaster, 7-2 but makes at the moment, trained by Jed O'Keefe, who's stable in fair form at the moment. They've put Jamie Spencer for the ride tomorrow. Finished 2nd at Thirst last time out behind a Mark Johnson horse called Kings of Ice. He went on to score at Ripon a couple of weeks after that run, and I think there's a lot to like about Starcaster. He had some decent form in the book last year, and I think he could still be potentially well handicapped, and his forms does stack up. So for me, Starcaster at 7-2, that's going to be the selection there in the last race of the day. So there are the tips for day 1 of the Dante Festival at York. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button below for more videos and tips here on my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Twitter using my handle at LuckyLoads15, and that's all I got to say. So please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners on day 1 of the Dante Festival at York, and we'll be seeing you soon.